What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We're going to be looking at the E-mini futures contract once again. We're going to go over everything from the weekly, daily, 30-minute time frame, and then review the one trade that I did take today, as it was, you either got on the train early on or you missed it type of day. I did not want to chase, and I'm glad I got in and got involved when I did. However, there are a few things I could have done to make the trade better. So before we get into it, guys, if you do not mind, leave a like down below. If you are enjoying the content, leave a comment. If there's anything you'd like me to review, stock, indice, whatever it is, I'll try to make a separate video on those as well. All right, so starting off, we're looking at our weekly time frame within our 5-month balance high. Yesterday, we approached our 5-month balance high and missed it by roughly 1.75. Okay. And then so far we've rejected it pretty good and rolled over and started to head to the downside. We have put ourselves back into a daily balance. The weekly, we've been struggling with this weekly, right? We said this week we came out of balance to the upside, or potentially stretched it. If this week we do not set another high on the week, we will say that the balance high just got stretched. Okay. Meaning we got above it and we did not find much acceptance above it and did not find much continuation above that balance high of 41.9475. So if we do not get back up there and do not get extension above or close above this area, then I will say the monthly or the weekly has just stretched its weekly balance, and then we'll most likely revisit our balance low of 40.6875. Now, on the daily, we've come back into a 3-day balance by taking out yesterday's low, which was not, like I said in yesterday's video, high chance of taking it out because it was such a small range. So we'll have to adjust our daily balance here to reflect the highs and lows here. So let me just get this. So we'll be using yesterday's high, and then we'll be using Thursday's low as our balance low. So it'll look roughly like that. I'll get the numbers exact here in a minute. But by taking out yesterday's low, we put ourselves into a 4-day balance, right? We opened this morning with a gap and went with it, right? Today was the first time in a long time we've seen a gap and go style, except for the past like 3 days where we've opened and drove straight up. Well, this time around we gapped, opened, and drove straight down. So we did the exact opposite, just in a different manner, right? Anybody that was buying up here, obviously they got faked out, expecting a breakout above that monthly high. And then obviously anybody that was smart enough to take profits up here definitely did whenever we began taking out that low there of the previous day. So a lot of profit taking and buyers getting out of their positions, as well as short players stepping on the pedal to push this market down. So the daily is back into a 4-day balance prior to the Fed tomorrow, where we'll find out our rate hike decision. So daily back into a balance. We'll use yesterday's high of 0625. That'll be at the balance high. So 0625 is the balance high. And then we'll use Thursday's low of 97.25 as our balance low. So we take out Thursday's low, we'll be one time framing down. Oh, whoa. Where'd my one? My balance high disappeared. I must have deleted it. 0625. Let me readjust that. 0625. Balance high. All right, sorry. Technical difficulties. All right, so we got our balance high there, and then our balance low. So if we do take out our balance low, Thursday's low of 97.25, we'll be one time framing down on the daily. How much we get out of it is a very, very good question, right? Do we get a good push down low and visit the 50-day moving average down at 57? Good possibility. Do we hold above the 4100 level, as we did test that today, and Thursday's low we tested the lower distribution from that day we tested and got rejected out of, closing more towards the middle distribution of that day. And I'll show you that here on the 30-minute time frame for those of you that do not know what I'm talking about. So if we don't take out either side of this balance here, expect a whole lot of chop, especially tomorrow prior to the Fed. Expect a whole lot of chop in today's range, as it was a double distribution day, and I'll show you that here in the 30-minute time frame. So let's go ahead and get into that. Let's go ahead and get into that. So just real quick, I'm gonna zoom in here before I bring up all my destinations and just kind of review what happened. So this was yesterday's range up here. I'm gonna get this crosshair off so you can just see my mouse. So this up here was just yesterday's range, one of the smallest ranges of the year, the second smallest to be exact, and it was right at our balance high. And so far we've rejected that balance high, the monthly balance high of 4208.50. So we got up near it and rejected so far. By taking out the previous day's low, we opened with a gap and drove straight down. Pretty emotional move to the downside, as there was no let up in the pace on the downside. A lot of volume packed in there on the downside, taking back this trend day. If you see where I'm circling my mouse here, taking back most of this trend day, filling these sets of single prints. Now, sets of single prints are something that you can lean on during that intraday of that trading day. But whenever we are going towards it, they become destinations to fill as areas that have little volume and price traded there. So that's all we did, was push back into these set of single prints and backfill this poor structure. That's all that is, right? That's how you think about it, right? When you're building a wall and you have a poor structure, you want to go back and backfill and kind of make that structure stronger. So maybe that's all we've done, is backfill this poor structure here, and maybe we'll bounce back up and revisit the highs again. However, this market does have a good opportunity to roll over to the downside if we get below Thursday's low and find acceptance below the 4100 level. And like I said, you don't have much to the downside to lean on. You have 4068.75 and then the 50-day moving average at 40.57. Let's bring up the destinations here. So you can see, after opening up an A period with a gap, right, we just barely, to the tick, A's high was the 10Y point of control from the 28th, right? So even with a gap, we opened at, what was our open? Our open was 41.1825. Wait, no, it wasn't. 41.7725. So we opened, no, it wasn't, 77, excuse me. We opened right near it and pushed up to the tick, and that's all these buyers, all these sellers needed to do to pile in and push this market lower. So we held the gap initially. B period takes out A's low. Big. After we got below that afternoon pullback low of 71.25, big liquidation break, as all these buyers that were trapped up here, and anybody that wanted to take profit from getting long down here, right? They want to take profits, started to get out of this market, and shorts piled on, giving us a large set of single prints to the downside today. So I'm gonna get rid of these destinations as I discuss what happened. So that 10Y point of control is gone. Then we push into the low of day, where that set of single prints started at 43.75, 41.42, filled those. Next target destination was 37.75 to 31.50, which was a set back from back in I on the 27th. So we get those destinations, continue to push down lower. C period opens up. We have a large set of single prints overhead. So the market is getting extremely short now. Sellers have everything in their favor. They have a gap, they have the opening, they have one time framing down, they have single prints. So everything's being checked off for these sellers. They have single prints, they have the overnight low, volumes increasing. They're taking out another previous day's low. So things are really in the seller's favor. So C period opens up, doesn't push up at all, and fills the next several sets of single prints to the downside, creating its own. All right. So all these destinations to the downside got filled, right? Those become targets to the downside. So if you were short at C's low, or at C's high right here where B opened up, your targets were all these destinations that I'm taking away, right? 41.1950 was the last of that set of single prints. And then you're getting into the lower distribution. So I'm going to highlight where this lower distribution was. And I know I'm getting a little technical here, but I do like to explain to you guys. So you can see here where I'm highlighting, that is the lower distribution from that trend day. So we begin to dip our toe into the lower distribution and don't really find much acceptance into it. Now where I'm about to highlight next is the upper distribution, or not the upper, the middle distribution. And right there is the middle distribution, right? So we began to come back up and creep back up into the middle distribution, but we cannot find it. We cannot get back into the upper distribution from that day, which was this range right here that I'm highlighting. So you can see all this poor structure right here where we had those several sets of single print. That's all we did today was come back in and fill that area with volume and price. So anybody that did sell obviously was targeting near that Thursday low and then obviously began to get out of their positions. We found short covering, stopped the one time framing in E period as we took out D's high, and then we began to try to backfill some of these sets of single prints. Now let me zoom in to what happened today in my trade. So we have the set of single prints here in B period. I'm gonna go ahead and mark those so you can see what I was leaning against when I took my trade today. I took a short on the push up. I was waiting majority of the day for a good price to push up, and I'll show you exactly where I pushed up and got short. So 65 was where the set of single prints will fill to the upside, and then C's high at the time was where they began for B sets of single print, right? So 38, I'm not going to get it exactly, but right there was B sets of single print. And then C period had a set initially. We eventually filled it later in the day, but C period, I'm gonna go ahead and mark it right there, and then where D's high is where they started. So 20. So you can see initially taking shorts against D's high early on and against the set of single prints in C was the trade. All right, but I was not comfortable shorting near the low in the lower distribution from that day. I was more comfortable taking the short against the the upper portion of the middle distribution, which was 28.75. So I'm gonna mark that right there, 28.75. I was more comfortable taking that trade, and you'll see why here in a second. Let me highlight this. Let me highlight this red. So that red is it marks the upper portion of the middle distribution. So that's where I was more comfortable taking the trade. And you can see why. Because the set of single prints from C period filled at 33.95. So my risk to reward was a lot less, right? I'm only risking from 28.75 to 34. And then my reward, if we did roll over whenever I took the short, was all the way back down to the low of day at 41.0550 if the market wanted to roll over. So that's initially what I began to short against on the push up, right? Keep in mind, we had set of single prints. A lot of things in the seller's favor, but we did begin to grind up and take back majority of this set, eventually filling this set in I period because once we opened up in G period, we began to one time frame up by taking out previous time frames high and just kind of eating away at this set of single prints. So as we pushed up into the set of single prints, I began getting short in H period around the 27 and 28 area, just the two lot of the MES, and I had an idea to add on larger around the 34 area. So as we chopped around in H period, I added 5 more on at 30. We continued to push up, and part of my plan was to take the larger size here at B's low, which is where the set of single prints filled. So as we pushed up into that set of single prints, I got short a 20 lot right there around the 34 level, and then we would continue to grind up and then dip our toe into the B set of single prints. So as we pushed up, I was comfortable with taking the short. I was going to use halfback as my out. If we got above halfback at 41.40 or 41.38, which was also above VWAP, if we got above that and found acceptance above that, I would have gotten out of my trade for a pretty hefty loss. But I was comfortable with the trade with everything that was in the seller's favor, right? We held the gap and we had this large set of single prints, and I did not think we would take it all back. Now, would I have been surprised if we did? No, but I did not think we'd take it all back. So as we grinded up and pushed, I put on my largest lot right there, 20, and then added another 10 lots. So eventually I was short 40 of these contracts, MES, with an average price of, what was it? Average price of 30. I'm looking at my sheet here, 33. So average price of 33, a 40 lot. And as we pushed up an I, I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous because that set of single prints in B started to get ate away a little bit. That we started to eat a little bit away from it. But I was still confident in my trade. We did not push above VWAP, and we did not get above the half back. So I, stuck to my stop. And as this market began to come back in, I started to feel more comfortable with my trade. And then eventually J period opens up, stops the one time framing, takes out eyes low, and pushes down to a low of 25.75. Now I was targeting at the time, point of control was down here at D's high, and I was targeting 20. But once we pushed down in J period, I seen that we had gotten right near the 144 simple moving average. Now this is something you hear me talk about a lot, right? So let me bring up the 1 minute chart. The 144 simple moving average is just a simple moving average on the 1 minute chart. So where were we at? Here, right? So I was getting short on this grind up. This whole grind up that you see here, I was getting short right around here. I'll kind of highlight it for you guys. That way you can kind of see. Zoom in. Whoa. Okay, so I was getting short on the pullback here. And then I got short a larger lot right here. And then I added another bit here right before we got to VWAP. Now keep in mind, I was using halfback as my out, which was right around the 43 level, right? So I was using halfback as my out. So we gotten above VWAP, but could not find acceptance above it, and we began to roll over. Now my target was initially 20, but I seen that we had the 144 simple moving average creeping up, and at the time was right around 25. So I felt comfortable when we pulled back into the 144 simple moving average that I would take off my position, because the likelihood of breaking through it after kind of eating away at the set of single prints was kind of slim. So as we pushed down into it, I got out of my position at 26 and 25, the whole 40 lot, and ended up 160 points on the day. Now, could you have taken a long position against that? You could have, but with everything in the seller's favor, there was no reason to get long here against the 144. If anything, you would have been looking to get short below the 144, because your next target would have been the point of control at D's high, which was 20, which also happened to be right around where the standard deviation was. So I'm happy with the trade that I took. Put on the majority of my trade at the single prints fill, and then obviously you see how it worked out on the 1 minute chart and where I got out on that. So overall, great trade for me. Stuck to my plan, and that's all part of it, right? Now tomorrow that same trade may not work, and I'm may get stopped out for a pretty hefty loss, but I'm happy with what I did and how I managed that trade, and I'll take that trade any day of the week. And obviously, as you see in J period, once we pulled back to that 144 simple moving average, we bounced back up and then began to kind of grind back up into that set of single prints. I did take another short in K period, a 2 lot against that set of single prints and eyes high, and I got stopped out in L period as we popped eyes high. So it was only a 2 lot. So I think it was like a 5-point loss there. Not very large at all. But overall, happy with what I did on the day. Let's go ahead and mark these destinations for you guys, and then give you some if-then statements. So 50-50. Oh, also, the entire time during that trade, right? I'm taking that trade which is something that I would normally take, right? But also, I'm in a room with my mentor, and the entire time he's kind of talking and leading us through the trade. He also took a similar trade, but he instead waited until eyes high, which right at 40.75, and took his larger lot against halfback and BC set of single prints. He had more patience and got paid way more on the downside than what I did initially. He had a pretty good size on at 40.75, top ticked it to be exact, because he added some on at 36, and then he took his trade at 40.75, the larger lot, and it pulled back, and he got out with really, really good profits. So kudos to that guy. And if you don't know who Paul Asmar is, go check out his YouTube channel because it is an amazing, amazing room to be in. Definitely worth the money that you spend. All right, so L's high is where the set of single prints start at 44. Jesus. 44 is where the set of single prints start. Cannot believe it is May already, guys. 5 months in. Wow. Set of single prints start here. So you're going to want to mark these on your chart. And then they fill at 65. Large set. Large set. One of the largest I've seen in a while. Very large set. So, and then you have the high of day at A's high, which was 77.25. 77.25 high day. Also where the gap starts. Cannot forget about that. Holy cow. Almost forgot. Gap starts there. And it fills at 82.52. So let me just change this color and put gap fill and then low of day from 501. So the gap fills at 41.82.25. You have our set of single prints from 44 to 65. Our low of day at 105.50. Below that is 40.97.25. Our balance low. Below that 68.75. And then pretty much not a whole lot to lean on. 40.61.25. And then a very, very small set of single prints back here at 40.52.25 and 75. So, and then below that, 9 wide point of control at 40.44.25. Can you use Jay's low as an afternoon pullback low? Potentially. So I will mark that as well. Do not want to, we did bounce there, but it'll be more of a reference than something to lean on. We'll see if we get near that level, if they hold it. So I'm not even going to give it that afternoon pullback low. And so if we open up in the lower distribution, which is 44 to 41.05, 44 to 41.05.50 is the lower distribution. If we open up inside the lower distribution and cannot take out the day's low, then you'll expect a whole lot of chop in between that range. If we open up in the lower distribution and take out 41.44, you can expect to backfill this set of single prints and possibly chop around inside this. Today was a very large range, and I would not be surprised if we chopped around inside this range tomorrow until the Fed minutes come out, or until the Fed comes out with their rate hike decision. I know that this video was a long video, and if you made it to the end, pat yourself on the back. You are a trooper, and I hope you make big bucks in this market. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you.